Hello students, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you have watched all the previous videos related to this chapter, because if you haven't, then you have to run with the syllabus at the end of the year. So I hope you watch all the previous videos and complete this chapter beforehand. Now, in the last video, that is video number 3, what we have learned? We have learned about the principle of calorimetry, where we have derived the final expression as something like this. That is M1C1 T1 minus T is equal to M2 C2 T minus T2. This was the final expression for the that is principle of calorimetry. Now in this equation, if you have remembered, we have only taken what? That the hot body is going to the cold body and the heat exchange takes place. But in actual practice, we have to also consider the fact that the calorimeter itself also gains certain amount of heat in this whole process. So we will consider what? Let me draw a situation. Let me give you a brief idea about what will be happening over here. So this is a calorimeter. This is a calorimeter, and from here cold water is coming. So this is the hot water. This is the hot water, and inside the calorimeter we have the cold water. And what is the calorimeter? This is the calorimeter. This itself is the calorimeter. Now we have to also consider the fact that this calorimeter, this is the calorimeter, also consumes some amount of heat from this hot water. So you have to think, the hot water has the heat. When it comes to the cold water absorbs or extracts the heat from the hot water. Along with that, this calorimeter will also be taking certain amount of heat. Okay, this calorimeter also will be taking certain amount of heat. Because, and why this I am explaining, because in one or two sums of your book, the final expression with the calorimeter is also considered. So when we will do numericals, this concept will be useful. So at that point of numericals, I will just ask you to refer to video number 4, where I have explained this part. Now, so let's consider there is a hot body, and there is a cold body. There are two bodies. There are hot body and cold body. Now, if you look at it very carefully, which one is the hot body? The hot water. The hot water or the hot body. Now, the hot body has a mass of what? Suppose this hot body has a mass of M1. M1. The specific heat capacity. Every substance has its own specific heat capacity, which I have explained it to you previously. So this specific heat capacity of this body is C1. So specific heat capacity is equal to C1. And the temperature of the body is T1. So as of now, the temperature of this body is T1. So I will consider initial temperature of the body as T1. Now let's talk about the cold body. How many cold bodies are there? Think, how many cold bodies are there in this part? The calorimeter is one, the cold water is the cold body. Also the calorimeter is also a cold body, because calorimeter is also absorbing heat from the hot water. So the cold water as well as the calorimeter, there are two cold bodies. Okay, so there are two cold bodies. If I have to correct over there, cold bodies. So there are two cold bodies. One is what? One is the cold water, and second is the calorimeter. Now for the cold water, we'll consider the mass of the cold water as, I'm writing over here, the cold water mass as M2. So the mass becomes M2. this cold water will have a specific heat capacity. Let's take it as C2. Specific heat capacity, let's take it as C2. And the temperature of this cold water, let's take it as T2. So temperature is equal to T2. For the calorimeter, that will also have a mass because this calorimeter is made up of copper. So calorimeter mass, will consider this as capital M. So the mass is capital M. Mass is capital M. This is made up of copper, and copper has its own specific heat capacity, that is equal to small c. So specific heat capacity is small c. And a very important question over here: what will be the temperature of this calorimeter? What will be the temperature of this calorimeter? Think, what will be the temperature of this calorimeter? If you still haven't got the idea, let me give you some idea. When you put a cold water in a glass, what will be the temperature of the glass? You take a steel glass and you take a cold water bottle from the refrigerator and you pour the cold water into the glass. You pour the cold water into the glass. So what will be the temperature of the glass? Don't you think the temperature of the glass will be same as the temperature of the cold water? If the cold water that you are drinking from the refrigerator, the temperature is say 5 degrees centigrade. Temperature is 5 degree. So the glass will also have a temperature of 5 degree only. Once the cold water is put into the glass and the cold water has the same temperature. So the temperature of this calorimeter will be same as the cold water, which is equal to T2. So temperature is T2. Have you understood? Now, once the hot water and cold water they combine, so what happens? A hot water and cold water combining, so at over there, a temperature of the final water is between the hot water and the cold water. Say this is T1, which is, say, let's take an example, say 80 degrees centigrade, which is the temperature of the hot water. Cold water temperature, let's take it as say 10 degrees centigrade. Now when the cold water and the hot water and cold water combines, the temperature of the mixture turns out to be, say, 40 degrees centigrade, which is the final temperature. So I will consider the final temperature as T. So over here, final temperature, I will consider the final temperature as T. Even once the cold water and hot water has a final temperature of 40 degree, the calorimeter also has a temperature of 40 degree. That is the final temperature of the mixture. So final temperature of the mixture is the final temperature of the calorimeter. So final temperature of the calorimeter, that is also T. And the hot body's final temperature, that is equal to also T. Now what is the delta T over here? What is the delta T? Find out what is the delta T over here. Think, you will get the answer. It is what? Higher temperature minus the lower temperature. So higher, initially it was the 80 degree and the final was 40. So it will be how much? 80 minus 40. So it will be how much? 80 is nothing but T1 and 40 is nothing but T. So it will be T1 minus T. So delta T will be how much? T1 minus T. What is the delta T over here? The delta T over here, it will be how much? See, the cold water has an initial temperature of 10 degree and finally it becomes 40 degrees. So delta T is how much? 40 minus 10. That means what? It will be T minus T2. So delta T is how much? T minus T2. And even for the calorimeter, delta T, same thing. T minus T2. Initially the calorimeter was at a temperature of 10 degree. Calorimeter was a temperature of 10 degree only. 10 degree, and later it became 40 degree. So it will be how much? 40 minus 10. It will, so that means T minus T2. So delta T is T minus T2. That is the delta T value. I think you understood this part. Now I have to rub this thing. Now what is the principle of calorimetry? What is the principle of calorimetry? That the heat given by the hot body is equal to the heat gained by the cold body. Heat lost by hot body equal to heat gained by cold body. This is the general principle of calorimetry. So what is the heat gained by the hot body? What is the heat gained by the hot body? So it will be Q1. Sorry. What is the heat lost by the hot body? It will be taken as Q1. And what is Q formula? Formula for Q. Formula for Q is mc delta T, which we have learnt in all the previous classes, previous lectures, videos. If you don't know, please refer to the previous videos. That the formula for Q is mc delta T. So what is the m over here? M1. What is the C over here? C1 and delta T. What is the delta T over here? T1 minus T. Okay. Now second thing, what is the heat gained by this cold water? That is also Q2, and that will be again mc delta T. But what is the m over here? M2. What is the specific capacity? C2 and delta T. What is delta T? Delta T is nothing but T minus T2 over here. Similarly over here we have to also say what is the heat gained by the calorimeter? Again mc delta T. So that will be, I will considering this as Q3. That will be equal to M, which is capital M, mass of the calorimeter. Then small c, specific capacity of the calorimeter. And delta T, T minus T2. Okay, delta T. Now what I will write, what is the heat gained by the hot body, heat lost by the hot body? Q1. Heat gained by the cold body. So the first cold body is gaining a heat of Q2 and the second cold body is gaining a heat of Q3. Okay. Now what is Q1? Just put the value, just put these formulas, just put these terms. M1 C1 T1 minus T, Q2 M2 C2 M2 C2 T minus T2 plus this term M C T minus T2. So this is the final expression. No, this is not the final expression. We can go one more step. So the final expression becomes how much? What? M1 C1 T1 minus T. Now think from this two, can't we take T minus T2 common? We can take common. So if we take common, what it becomes? See, M2 C2 plus capital MC, and in bracket we can write T minus T2. We have taken the T minus T2 common from both the sides. If we take common, then M2 C2 and MC remains. Okay. So this is the principle of calorimetry when we consider what? That the calorimeter is also absorbing heat. And in the previous lecture, what I have the final expression that we got is for the situation when we don't consider that the calorimeter is absorbing heat. So when we don't consider the calorimeter is absorbing heat, it becomes something like this. M1 C1 T1 minus T is equal to M2 C2 T minus T2. And when we also consider the calorimeter is absorbing heat, just this extra term comes into existence. Other than that, both the principles are same only. So we have learned about the principle of calorimetry totally in detail. Now after this, the next part will be what? We are going to continue the teaching the next part with the next topic is what? The next topic will be natural consequences and phenomena due to specific heat capacity of water. Natural consequences and phenomenon due to high specific heat capacity of water. This is our next topic, a very big name. Now let's think, what is this topic? Let's focus. What we have? Water. The first thing that we come to see is what water we have. Okay, we have water. Now the next thing that we have to notice over here, so we have water. The next thing that we have to notice over here is what? High specific heat capacity of water. So for water, what is the specific capacity? The specific heat capacity of water is equal to how much? The value is 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin, or 4.2 joule per gram per Kelvin. We know this value. In kg it becomes 4200, in gram it becomes 4.2. Now this value is a very high value if you compare with all the other substances that we have in our book. Like compare ice, compare with copper, compare with iron. Water, this value is highest, 4200 is highest. Now having a very high specific heat capacity of water, which is 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin, what does this thing means? That water of 1 kg, to rise the temperature by 1 degree, means from 20 to 21. Water of 1 kg, to rise the temperature from 20 to 21, it will take a heat of 4200. It will consume a heat of 4200. Now think, if it consumes such a large value of heat, if it consumes so much heat, can it consume very fast? Think, if it is consuming this amount of heat, or such a large amount of heat, can it consume, can it take the heat, can it acquire the heat very fast? Answer is what? No. It will take a long time to absorb the heat. So I can write this thing as the first thing. Okay. Long time to absorb heat. It will take a long time to absorb heat. Second thing, once it absorbs this much of heat, can it give out, can it release this much of heat very fast? See, water when cools down, it has to release the heat. Hot water, at the morning, at the night it will cool down. In the morning it is hot due to sun's ray. In the night, that hot water will cool down. So when the hot water cools down, what the water will do? It will release all the heat that it has absorbed. In the morning, whatever heat it had absorbed, it will try to release the heat. Now tell me, can it release this amount of heat very fast? This is a very high quantity of heat, and this large value of heat, when it is released, it cannot be released so fast. It will take a long time for the water to cool down. So I can write what? Long time to absorb heat, and even long time to release heat. So if it takes a long time to release heat, what happens? The water remains hot for a long time. So I can write, since it takes long time to release heat, water remains hot for a long time. Water remains. So you have to remember these points as I'm going. Third thing that we have to remember, Okay, I think these 2 points are enough to understand the consequences that we will study. So just remember these 2 points. Water takes a long time to heat, and once it gets heated, water takes a long time to cool down. Okay, you have to remember these 2 points. So we can start. Now you have to understand these things. Everything is written in your book only. I am starting with point number 2. Water water bags, or say hot water bottles or bag are used for fermentation. Now first thing is first, what do you understand by fermentation? What do you understand by fermentation? See, sometimes old persons, they have a pain in their waist or their neck. To get relief from the pain, what they do is that they put hot water bag in the parts of their body which is paining. So they put a hot water bag somewhere in their body. It can be shoulder, it can be neck, it can be waist, or it can be ankle, leg, to relieve the pain. Now think, why I use a hot water bottle? Can't I use hot sand? I can use a hot sand in the same bag, but no, I rather use a hot water, than using a hot sand. Think what will happen. What is the advantage of using water rather than a sand? As I told you, water has the specific heat capacity of 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin. So this heat which is there in the hot water will take a long time to release. This amount of heat cannot be released very fast. It will take a long time for the heat to release. So the water will stay hot for a long time. So why water will stay hot for a long time. Water will stay hot for a long time because the specific heat capacity of water is 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin. I think you understood this point. If I use sand, then what will happen? The sand will become cold in just 10 minutes. If you take a hot sand in the bag, and it will become cold in just few minutes. In 10 to 12 minutes, the bag will become cold and it will be of no use. Again, you have to heat the sand, again pour it, again take it, again it will become cold very fast. So you have to heat it, cold it, continuously. But for water, if you heat it once, then it still remains hot for a long time. So this is the advantage of using water as used for the fermentation. So hot water bags are used for fermentation. So water is used. Now second thing, in the cold countries, they happen to have a lot of drinks. These drinks, okay, any juice kind of drink, this is a bottle having juice. Now if I keep the juice open, what will happen? In cold countries, the outside temperature is near about minus 20 degrees centigrade, the atmospheric temperature. This low temperature is surely 100% will convert the liquid juice into a solid juice. This low temperature of minus 20 degrees centigrade of the atmospheric temperature of minus 20 degrees centigrade will definitely convert this liquid juice into a solid juice. And think, do you consume juice in liquid form or a solid form? Obviously, we always would like to consume any kind of juice or drink in a liquid form. Nobody can consume that in a solid form. So what I should do to make sure that the juice doesn't becomes into a solid state? What I should do to make sure that the juice doesn't converts into a solid state? I'll take a drum and I will fill the whole drum with water. I'll fill the whole drum with water. Okay. Now I will take the juice and put it into the drum. So now the juice, now this juice bottle is inside the water. By doing this, what advantage I am going to have? What are the advantages I am going to have if I do this thing? Think. Now, outside temperature is how much? Outside temperature is -20. And that will try to do what? That will try to convert this juice from the liquid state to solid state. Now, as the juice is inside the water, it is now protected by water. The juice bottle is now protected by this whole water. So, now the outside temperature will try to, previously the outside temperature was extracting heat directly from the juice bottle. But now since the juice bottle is inside the water, the outside temperature has to extract heat from the water first. It has to extract heat from the water. So the outside temperature will be extracting heat from the water. And finally it can come to the juice. But now what we know? Water has a very high specific heat capacity, 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin. Means what? This water will give a lot of heat. This water has a lot of heat inside it, because now right now it is in the water form, not in the ice form. So since it is in the water form, it has a lot of heat inside it. Now the atmosphere will try to take all the heat from the water, and water tells, okay, take the heat from me, you can take, but the water is giving a lot of heat. So atmosphere taking the heat from the water, but in this process it takes a long time, because water is giving a lot of heat, and to take that large amount of heat, it will require some time. So the atmosphere, which is at -20 degrees centigrade, will consume a lot of heat from the water, and that will take a long time. So the water stays in the form of water, and the juice right now, no one is touching it. The heat cannot go from the juice. The heat has to go from the water, and after the water has given all the heat, then it can take the heat from the juice. But water giving all the heat, it will take a long time. So, and for that long time, the juice will stay in the liquid state. So this is what written in your book, that water has to give, juice or drink bottles are kept inside the water. That will help the juice bottle, save the juice bottle from getting frozen. It will help the juice water from frozen. So it will not be frozen, it will be in the liquid form, because the heat now goes from the water, not from the juice. And we know water can give lot of heat, so it takes a lot of time. So by that time, the juice remains in that state of liquid. So this is the explanation of that point. Now, thirdly, plants. Every plant has a certain amount of water in their body. Every plant has a certain amount of water in their body. Now think what can happen if this, there is a small plant, okay, and this plant is right now at a temperature of say -20 degrees centigrade. So outside temperature is frozen. Outside temperature, it happens in cold countries like Switzerland, Austria, in European countries, the outside temperature reaches this -15, -20 degrees centigrade during the month of December or Jan. It is not a very big deal for them. Canada has a temperature of -25 degrees centigrade, average -25 degrees centigrade during the winter. So the temperature of the outside temperature is -20 degrees centigrade. Now every plant has a certain amount of water in their body. So this plant has water inside the body. Now, if you remember in class 9, I told you there are some concepts of class 9 which are required in class 10. Now here is the now here comes that part of class 9. When water goes from a temperature of 4 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade, temperature is decreasing. Temperature is decreasing from 4 to 0. What happens to the volume? Volume decreases or volume increases? Think. Class 9, I have taught you all these things. When temperature decreases from 4 to 0, what happens to the volume? The volume from this 4 to 0, the volume will not decrease. The volume will increase. That is the anomalous expansion of water. That when temperature decreases from 4 to 0, the volume is not going to decrease, but the volume is going to increase. So this water which is there inside the plant, inside the capillaries of the plant, though that water is going from a temperature of 4 to 0. Why? Because the outside temperature is minus 20 degrees centigrade. As the outside temperature is minus 20 degrees centigrade, the water goes from a temperature, the water inside the plant goes from a temperature of 4 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade. And going from 4 degrees centigrade to 0 degrees centigrade, what will the water will happen? What will the water do? Water will expand, and if the water expands, there is a chance that the capillaries or the veins of the plant will burst. Okay, so as the water will expand, the water requires some space. And since the water is where? Water is inside the veins and capillaries. So the veins or capillaries of the plant will burst, and if the veins and capillaries of the plant will burst, then the plant will happen what? The plant will easily die out. The plant will easily die. Now suppose a farmer has put 100 crops, and that is the earning of the farmer, and and in the winter the temperature was severely cold, and the temperature went below 0. The temperature went below 0, not minus 20. The temperature went below 0. So what will happen in that, in all 100 crops that the farmer has put in his field, all the crops will die or not? Because the veins, the water inside the veins of the plants will expand, and that will burst all the veins and capillaries of all the crops, and eventually all the crops will die out. So farmer will be in a big loss for that season. So to avoid that, to avoid the plants to avoid the plants dying out, what we do? We use water. So we fill the whole field with water. So we put the whole field with water. Okay, this is water. So we fill the whole crop field with water. Now what happens? The same thing happens. Now as the temperature of the outside is minus 20, it will try to extract heat from the plants and make the plant temperature go down. But since the plant is now under water, the atmosphere will extract heat not from the plant but from the water. So the atmosphere will be extracting heat from the water, and we have a lot of water, and that lot of water will give a lot of heat, and that lot of heat will take a lot of time. So by that lot of time, this plant won't be frozen at the night. Okay, so think, the atmosphere now will be extracting heat, but it will be extracting heat not from the plant, it will be extracting heat from the water, because the plant is now under the water. So as the atmosphere temperature goes down, it will be extracting heat from the water, and water can give a large amount of heat. And we have not liters, like gallons and gallons of water in that field. So it will release a lot of heat. So as it releases a lot of heat, then what happens? The water will be frozen. The water will be giving a lot of heat, and that will take a lot of time, because lot of heat required to go uh, to eliminate to eliminate, to remove lot of heat or to extract lot of heat from the water. It takes a lot of time, and by that time this plant will be surviving, and by that time morning will come, the sun will come again, it will become a normal temperature. So that is the normal phenomenon that the farmers do. They put water uh, in their field to save the crops during the frozen winter night. Similarly, we can say this thing also, that the our body has a temperature of how much? Our human body has a temperature of 37 degrees centigrade, and in all weather, in summer, in winter, or any other season, our temperature remains 37 degrees centigrade. Now, how it is possible that our body temperature remains 37 degrees centigrade? Because if you happen to know, our body contains 70% of water. Our body contains 70% water. Now, so this 70% of water keeps our body to this temperature. Because you think, if in the summer summer seasons, the sun will be, or the atmosphere will be extracting heat, it will be not extracting, will be giving heat to our body, will be giving heat to our body. And if it gives heat to our body, our temperature from 37 degrees centigrade should go to 40 degree or 41 degree, because the sun is throwing heat to our body, and that is how the temperature will go up. But it doesn't happen. Actually, why? Because the 70% of water which is there in our body is absorbing that heat from the sun. And we know water can absorb little heat or lot of heat. Water can absorb lot of heat, 4200 joules per kg per Kelvin. So since water can absorb a lot of heat for only 1 degree rise of temperature, so the 70% of water of our body, means if anyone's weight is 60 kg, we can say near about 42 kg of his body is water. So 1 kg absorb 4200. So 42 kg of water will absorb how much heat? 4200 into 40, about say 4 2s are 8, 16800. So 16,800 joule of heat that the water body has to absorb, and that will take a lot of time. So this is the reason that since water can absorb a large amount of heat, and this large amount of heat will take a lot of time, so our body doesn't goes to a higher temperature in the summers, neither it goes to a lower temperature in the winter, because our body waters can give a lot of heat to the surrounding. So as it is giving a lot of heat, it takes a lot of time. So for that lot of time, our body temperature remains constant. So this is the reason. Now I come to the first part, and the first part was there in class 7. I will be going into that part. That's firstly, we have two things. We have a sand. We have sand, and we have water. Now, what is the specific heat capacity of water? 4200 joule per kg per Kelvin. And what is the specific heat capacity of sand? Near about 800 joule per kg per Kelvin. These are the two specific heat capacity of water and sand. Now, who can absorb heat faster? Who can absorb heat faster? Water takes a lot of heat, so it will take a lot of time, whereas sand takes a little bit of heat and rises the temperature for 1 degree. So for 1 Kelvin rise, it only consumes 800 joule. For 1 Kelvin, it consumes 4200 joule. So who consumes less heat? Sand absorbs less heat. If it absorbs less heat, then obvious it will take less time. So it absorbs less heat. It absorbs less heat, and it rises the temperature faster. So the rise of temperature is fast, whereas the rise of temperature for water is slow. water is slow. Now I will only explain for the morning part. In the winter, in the night, what happens, it is for you to think and decide what will happen in the night. So as we know this two diagram, this is the okay, this is the sand, this is the sand, and this is the sea. Okay, this is the sea water. This is sea and this is sand. And now it is morning. This is morning. In the morning, when the sun is hitting both the water and the sand, whose temperature will rise faster? Whose temperature will rise faster? It will be the sand or the sea? We know answer is sand, because sand becomes hotter faster compared to sea water. So in the morning the sand becomes hot faster. If the sand becomes hot faster, what happens? The air above the sand will rise up. If the sand becomes hot, the air above the sand also becomes hot. And this hot air, we know hot air has less density, and that will go up. All the hot air will go up. If all the hot air goes up, then what will be created? What will be created above the sand? A vacuum will be created. A vacuum. And vacuum means what? There is a low pressure. All the air gone, so there is no air. All the air which was over here gone up, so there is no air. No air means no air pressure, and no air pressure means less air pressure. So there is less air pressure. So low air pressure or low atmospheric pressure is created above the sand. Now always we have learned that the air goes from a high pressure region to a low pressure region. So there are some air, cold air. There are cold air above the sea. Because why? Because the sea is still cold. Sand has become hot during the day, but the sea is not that hot. Sea is right now cold only, because I told you sea takes a lot, it has water, it takes a lot of time to become hot. So sea is right now cold, so the air above the sea is also cold. And this cold air above the sea is at a high pressure, And we know air goes from a high pressure to low pressure. So all the cold air will run from the sea towards the land during the day. And that is why it is called sea breeze, because it is going from the sea to the land. So it is going from the sea, where it is originating, sea. So that is why it is called sea breeze. So during the daytime, what happens? Sea breeze blows, and as the cold air is moving towards the land or the coastal region, this area becomes cold. Okay, cold breeze comes, so this area becomes cold. So initially it becomes hot, but the hot air goes and the cold air comes, so it becomes cold again. And at night, what happens? It is up to you to think. Which will be just the opposite thing. At night, what will happen? It is up to you to think. It will become hot or this is hot. At night, who will become hot? It is the water or the sand. Or I can say at night, who will become colder first? It is the sand or the water. Think. Okay. The sand becomes colder faster or the water? If the water becomes cold faster, then what can happen? Or if the sand becomes cold faster, then what can happen? Think and you will get the answer, because in class 7, this concept of sand breeze and sea breeze and land breeze was taught to you. So this was the consequences of the natural phenomenon of the water having a high specific heat capacity. I hope you have understood. So from here some questions comes, okay, like this question like fermentation, why water bottles are used, hot water bags are used, or even this question also comes, explain the part of the high specific heat capacity of water during the sea breeze or the land breeze. So this kind of question comes. So hopefully you, after you understand this thing, understand what I taught to you, you go through your book, read every line, and you will understand part by part what is written. So hopefully you enjoyed my video. So give a like, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, and if you have any doubts, please write in the comment section. Okay, take care, bye.